Hello, hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. Did you get a chance to look at what I sent you? Or what I sent the group?
Yeah, I skimmed it. I wasn't on there, so let me pull it up. Hey.
Yeah, I think probably the most helpful doc to look at actually is the one that I shared between the four of us. Let me share that with you directly.
Cool. Thanks. Sam's on his way.
Awesome.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Cool. Well, here we are. First inaugural daily yield. We're live already. Not a moment missed. I think it would be nice if you could kind of intro us a little bit, Sam, just a line or two, just to kind of bring up the topic. I don't think we need to say too much about the format because I think it'll just we can leave that in the description. But yeah, I've tried to give you some talking points, but if you need some actual questions, I could quickly come up with some questions too. But do you want to have a quick look at that document?
Yeah, I'm. That sounds good. I'll pull up the talking points, but I think we're all here to talk about what a seed is. Is that right?
Yes.
And probably even like higher level than that is like, what are we doing? why are we waking up in the morning? What are we thinking about? Like, what are we just trying to do as a group? Right. Which kind of then lands us on like the seed conversation, but I think it's probably worth spending a minute or two just like talking about like why are the three of us getting together every day and hacking on things. And I'd be curious what Daniel and Plinkis would say to this, and Roman, you as well. I actually had a thought this morning about this question, which is y'all know, like, I believe very strongly that AI needs to be widely distributed. The benefits of AI need to be widely distributed in order for our society to survive and function and remain integrated, right? And there's a lot of priority about like when you don't widely distribute benefits in a way that is aligned with the expectations of the population, that you get like societal unrest, political unrest, you get revolutions and a lot of violence. And it's not so much like everybody needs to be wealthy and we need to redistribute income, but rather like people need to feel like they're getting a fair shake, right? Like that they get the dream that was promised to them, where it was promised if they work hard, they can get the American dream, right? They can afford a house or whatever it is. Like they need to feel like they're getting a fair shake. And AI has the potential to concentrate a lot of wealth into those that own and deploy capital. And so the question is, how do you give everyone else a fair shake? I think one way you do that is like by making it easy for them to use the tools and benefit from those tools, and bringing them along, right? And we've all talked about this, but I had the realization this morning that like it's really, I'm sort of anticipating this new concept of what I imagined could be called a micro company, right? Like these large companies that employ a lot of people may no longer be a thing, right? We have college graduates right now that are learning this reality, right? These companies are realizing that we no longer need college graduates. We're gonna automate their jobs, and so the question is, what's going to replace that? And like, are we going to be able to still? Are they still going to get a fair shake? Right? They've gone to college. You have this whole educated population. I think one possible replacement is the micro company, right? Like, the bad news for a college graduate is you no longer have like a job set up for you. The good news is that anyone can start a micro company. And one of the things we're trying to do, one of the things we're waking up and like getting together, and like I think the live stream and like this thing that we're doing right now and the daily yield and watch me pivot, it's really all about like demonstrating, especially to people who have never started a company together or started a company before, what it means to start this new kind of company. So I think like in some ways everything we do serves that end. And I think that's important because we have to really quickly like give millions of graduates that are entering the workforce, and also like millions of people who are like at risk of getting laid off, an alternative story. And I think that's kind of a big part of what we're trying to do.
Can you say more about like what is a micro company?
Well, we've defined it as 6 people or less, where we are trying to solve a real problem for real people and scale using technology and AI. And the thesis is like AI can do a lot of things. You no longer need a huge company, but it's also very democratizing because we can now do work that we never previously could do. And so there's both this upside, there's this downside, right? Like in the past, we've worked on and we've managed teams of, dozens or hundreds of people. But the upside is like now you can do all of these amazing things. And so I think the micro company is really about demonstrating the upside of like, hey, you might be graduating from college. AI can walk you through how to take that idea you have and really deliver it as a solution for the rest of humanity at scale.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So in a way, there's this kind of opportunity for entrepreneurialism that because the access to these tools, to the code, for example, has been really revolutionized and democratized, with the advent of next to free code. I mean, at this point, we still are in this kind of amazing moment of having access to these tools at relatively manageable costs to individuals, right? So if you can dream it, you can almost build it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm terrified as an incumbent, as a dude who has like a resume in Silicon Valley and can go rub shoulders with investors and get checks for my ideas and hire teams. In some ways, I'm the person that's getting disrupted because now anyone in their basement can can compete with me.
Yeah. I mean, but the part that you're describing for yourself is like very much like the human element, the part that's going to be the hardest to replace, I think.
That's true, but like at the end of the day, if you can build a product and get users and show that users love your product and they're willing to pay for it and you're growing, like investors are always looking for that. And we see that. Like we built the first version of Plow and quickly we realized there's going to be 10 versions of this. You know, we launched it on Product Hunt. Nobody paid attention to it. I could kind of put my finger on the scale and get funding for it, and like, but it's just going to be a slog. It's no longer defensible. In some ways, I have gotten funding for it. Like we got $1 million of funding but we don't yet have a defensible product because
Yeah.
any, random like YC startups that are coming out of college are building the exact same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So you were able to raise like $1 million for this, and we were not able to find the thing yet. And I like it is possible for someone like doing a weekend, like one shotty product, like someone could build one shotty almanac in a weekend. Like, do you think those people, like this freshly graduated software engineer, will be able to create a company versus like just building a cool demo or cool prototype using AI?
I think that's where like resources like what we're doing come into play, like the hope is that they would, and
Yeah.
they should be able to now. And it's possible. My dream would be what we're doing over the course of this year communicates like moves that forward in some small way. Someone, you can imagine a resource like microcompany.org that has like the Watch Me Pivot catalog of how-tos or videos or whatever.
Yeah, I would definitely think. I mean, if you're talking about like micro companies, I think it'd be very easy for these days to take AI and like a small person team and build like some SaaS product that would have taken like hundreds of people to do before. And then when you talk about like AI and investing, I think it's like almost like investors now are like not as interested in that small thing, but now they're seeing like the potential of like massive growth from like being able to harness the AI like learning aspect of that. And instead of focusing that on just like one small micro company, like how can that be distributed to all the companies, and really have that blow up that way.
What's your point? Wait, the last point you were making, like you're saying.
Well, there's like you can have a micro company now that's like doing a SaaS product, right? And it's like that can grow 10x, 100x or whatever. But like the cap on that is not nearly as exciting as like a company that's trying to leverage AI tooling to like be applicable to like all of those SaaS companies, all of those new micro companies. Like figuring out how to like leverage these models to create systems that can like enable all of those companies. I think to get leverage that way. It's like a higher leverage.
Like
Yeah.
selling the pick,
Yeah.
selling the picks rather and the shovels rather than the ones that are just the mining the rich vein of a SaaS product. People who are selling the tools to enable people to do those, to produce those.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two. I think we're talking about two things here. One is like the size of the company, and then the other is like what is the company doing. And I'm curious about the comment you're making about the size of the company, and like does AI need to help large companies as well as like this micro company concept? Is that kind of what you're saying? Or are you saying more like these companies should be doing more than just building SaaS products? They should also be building like the tools that others will use.
I guess I don't know. I think like the micro company thing I think is super interesting. And instead of having like these larger companies that have like thousands and thousands of employees, I would imagine one way that you could like look at this in terms of like AI taking my job kind of thing is that instead of massive companies, there's going to be a lot more of these smaller 6-person teams that can leverage AI and just run that way, doing like a whole wide array of things that like we just weren't doing before.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can think of most problems in your life are solved by a company. Like it's like I've got a company to hold my microphone near my face. Like I've got a company to build the hardware that I'm connecting to y'all on. And so it's like in this world of micro companies, you're just going to have this massive diversification of like solutions to problems that we have in our life, and many of them will be much more personalized to our needs. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the hopeful opportunity here is like there's just incredibly democratizing, and we have this huge proliferation of these micro companies, and like employment actually goes up. And we live in a world where there's more competition, costs go down because more people can solve real problems for real people. You have more options, you know, better choices. Yeah.
And so one of the ways that, for example, seeds play a part in that is that we're giving people these kind of pre-built prompts that allow them to utilize these, or like grow their own software products, right? That's kind of like, what is a seed? Can someone summarize the seed concept for me?
I would call a seed a convention that allows you to one-shot a prompt that deploys personalized software on your computer to solve a real problem. So if you're an accountant and you need to match transactions with receipts, and you spend a lot of your day doing that, and you're worried about AI taking your job, and somebody posts a video that's like, hey, look at this tool that can make this 10 times more efficient. Today, at the end of that video, you're like, crap, I need to go figure out that. How do I do that? You know, like, am I going to lose my job if I don't figure out that tool? In the new world, you have just one command you can run on your computer to get all of that working on your computer, and you can start using it. And that's hopefully going to be true for millions of different needs, workflows. So it's taking what people run that works for them and allowing them to share it with other people. I think that's kind of like, for me, the premise of what this looks like, and it's going to be an open standard. The goal is to make the standard open to the community so the community can contribute to it, contribute to the software that enables it, and hopefully it'll like create more diversity in the world, more examples of people using software to solve real problems in their lives, and just like make all of that more accessible. That's my answer. I don't know. What do you all?
I think the other important part of seeds is that it's just like completely custom software. Like the seed file itself isn't like, it's like distilling the idea of what your software does. And so you can then, when you're installing it, like if you want to run it on Hermes versus OpenClaw, or on Mac versus Linux, like you're not tied down to these like binaries, or like even the source code itself. Like, you know, you're kind of just building it as it goes. And so you can just have it be completely customized to whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, when I'm thinking about seeds, I think about something like maybe a recipe or a spec that I know that I can paste to my agent that I trust, the agent that works with me every day, and he will bring whatever is described there to reality too. And if reality means like a software that runs on my computer, he will do this one shot, bring that to life for me. We do have our first question on the chat, and it says, here in Brazil, 8 of the last 9 Brazilian companies backed by YC were fintechs. How do you see seeds in this market? That's the question. Who's up for answering that?
I'm talking a lot, so somebody else should answer.
I don't know, Daniel, go for it.
Okay. I don't know about that, because fintechs and finance companies are really really structured, really well regulated. But there's something I saw recently. There is a company that's actually backed by YC, and I don't know if it's Brazilian or not. Maybe. Yeah, it's a Brazilian company backed by YC, and they are working on making it easier for you to have access to all the financial companies. So in Brazil, we do have a concept called open finance. That is, all the banks you can integrate into this open finance system. That is a government system, and you can exchange data from all companies. And their products like allowing you. So, for example, I could pay like $2,000 per month and have access to the entire open finance ecosystem. So I could have access to all the data from all the banks. So someone could create or like pay this like this bigger monthly payment to get access to the system and do like that link, just like we could that strategy of having the Plow API. They could do that for banking. So someone pays the $2,000 per month and enable that as an API and creates a seed documenting, hey, by accessing this API, you have access to your data, like your financial data, and you could track all your expenses or all your credit card expenses, because we can provide the API access for you. And if you install this, if you give this seed to your agent, you now your agent has control of all your financial life. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for maybe these micro companies or like just people wanting to automate their financial life using seeds. Someone could publish this as long as the access to this API is easier.
Yeah, it's interesting. We got another question about Streamboo. Man, Streamboo comes in a lot. Like a lot of people talking about Streamboo these days. But Daniel, like to agree with you, APIs are fascinating to me right now because they're effectively like the user interface for LLMs, and we as humans are predisposed to build products for other humans. I'm really curious about what and LLMs are, even though LLMs are going to be the most common and the most active user of like technology in the future. And so it is kind of interesting to think about like, okay, what products do LLMs need? And they're often APIs. And so like when I think about the fintech market in Brazil, to your point, I'm very curious about what those APIs look like, and then what does it look like to build seeds on top of those? So I think of seeds as effectively like recursive instructions to deploy software, and you can imagine a seed to create some sort of bookkeeping software on my computer built on top of these APIs, right? Or a seed to alert me when there are transactions that like look like transactions that I could like cut. Like, that's like $1 billion company is like, it just goes and finds these credit card charges and suggests you stop subscribing to these things. That could be a seed that you could essentially take every product in the United States that's built on top of like our financial infrastructure and convert that into like 100 or 1,000 different seeds that consume the new Brazilian APIs. That would be like a YC startup. It's just like a catalog of seeds that run on top of Brazilian API infrastructure.
Today, I think like the seeds that we're building are very much like workflow generation, or like kind of like taking our vibe coded apps and like trying to distribute them, which I think is like super valuable. But I can definitely see a world in the future where it's like seeds are also just like you're creating the software that can run these fintech APIs too. Like I don't think that's too crazy to say that that's like the future of a seed. You look at like the supply chain vulnerabilities and all this stuff in open source software, and like if you start to convert those to seeds and you're now having like, bespoke dependencies for all these things, like I can see that powering and being more secure than, powering like legit companies and legit stuff that has regulatory behavior and all that stuff. So I can see it in the future being used for legit stuff like that too.
Can I just get a clarification with the seeds currently? Are they all open source? they're all like accessible through open source distribution, right? Because
Yeah,
there's a
right.
point at which, because like obviously when you're in a fintech environment where you're obviously in a federally regulated environment, at what point does open source kind of conflict with that kind of accountability structure that you would need to robustly interact with a financial product? Like, is there a point at which
Yeah.
seeds have to become, regulated?
Seeds aren't software, and so I think the world may turn into like kind of these bifurcate where you have all of the crazy stuff that language models do, and you have this kind of layer of like prompting and markdown files and users, essentially. This is like users, humans today. And then you have this other layer, which is software, and probably very heavy on APIs, given that APIs will be the user experience of the future, likely, right? And down here, you have a lot of stuff that's not open source. You have, you know, uh, the 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 KYC, know your customer in the financial space. You have all this kind of regulated um, workflows and expectations. Up here in the user space, you will, like seeds almost by definition have to be open source because like to use a seed is to read a seed, and like the protections are probably, if you're going to have a protection, it's probably more around copyright, and like you could imagine copyrighted seeds just like you can imagine a copyrighted book. A book is actually a really good metaphor for a seed. Like if I read these 3 books, I can now do all of these. I can recursively compose them into like doing a job. Like college is in some ways like recursive seeds. Go to this class and then read this book, this textbook, and then read this to build upon that, and read this to build upon it.
Right.
So do you see seeds as a way for like an agent to learn a skill and to be able to do excerpt?
Yeah. Seeds are like a recursive kernel of knowledge that an agent can use to accomplish some sort of outcome for their user. So, and because we can like handle an enormous amount of complexity, it used to be like humans need a whole textbook, and then you get the next whole textbook. Language models have kind of assimilated all the open source knowledge that exists in the world, and so like in some ways they need less the whole textbook, and they need like this needle that threads through like this massive corpus of knowledge. And seeds are more like that specific needle that threads through the corpus of knowledge that they already have.
Seeds are the needle threaded already, like that.
Yeah, you can think about
graph.
taking all of the textbooks that exist in the world. Seeds are a little bit more of like, go to this page in this textbook and implement this thing, and then go to this other page in this textbook and implement this thing, right? Like they're tokens, effectively. They're tokens arranged in a way that allows a language model to go back into its training set, into its training data, and accomplish some particular outcome. So in some ways they're like pointing to page numbers in the language model's training set. I think we're getting kind of academic.
I love it. And at what point does somebody get, like, at what point does a seed become, I mean, seeds are so valuable, but at what point do they stop becoming open source because the profit motive is there, right? I mean, for you to have that kind of expert knowledge and the time it takes to develop
my hope is they're always open source. Seeds will run infrastructure and run software, and like the hope is that seeds are the way to make infrastructure available and deployable. The infrastructure is probably where people will monetize, as far as the profit motive, or the software. A seed is essentially like a flexible way for the community to run and deploy your software and share your software. So they'll probably always be open source, the same way recipes. Like if you're going to cook a cake, you go to a page, you get the cake, you can share it with your friends. If you're gonna buy the Ghirardelli chocolate to make that fancy cake, Ghirardelli's going to charge you for that chocolate, you know. But the reality is, if you want to share that recipe for that cake, you can always do that. Okay, we have 2 minutes and we have one question. Another question. Sam, if you had to start a company today, how would you look for the next idea, and would you execute that idea with the seed concept in mind? I'd be curious, Daniel and Lucas, how you would answer that. Like, what's your one sentence brief version of the answer to that question? I'll give mine as well, but yeah.
Okay, so ideas, I can generate like thousands of ideas today, or I could ask ChatGPT for ideas. What I would do is create a hypothesis around the idea and validate that it is true or not. And if it's not, like, move to the next one until I find something that works, and execute using seeds. I don't know, like this, just that example about the fintech sharing a seed. Hey, that's how I manage my whole financial life. That's the recipe. That's the needle threaded already. Here, use it. And maybe if I own the infra, like I own the API, or here's my API, so I paid the big bucks to enable you paying like really small cents to use my API. Here's the seed, just use it. That's my result. Yeah, why not use the seed concept?
For me, I don't know. I mean, there's two thoughts for me. One is I would definitely think it'd be very cool to start like one of these micro companies, right? Like no bootstrapping, or just raw bootstrapping, no VC funding, and just like what can we do with a handful of people? Like that would be very fun, I think. And then the other one, which feels a little more seed-like, is like how can we like what I was saying earlier, is like how can we build tooling to help enable all these other micro companies to like go faster and give them the best support that they can get.
I like that. It would be fun to. I mean, it's interesting because it's not necessarily a startup and it's not necessarily a lifestyle business. You know,
Yeah.
there's this like new thing. I think this is like one of the earliest examples. There's that. Let's see if I can find this. The New York Times guy who's competing with Hims in the United States. He essentially started some sort of GLP-1 distribution service, you know, but it's just a handful of people. He has 1.8 billion in revenue, you know. This is a micro company. It's not a lifestyle business anymore.
Right.
It's not a startup.
But isn't it just middleware though? Isn't this just like a marketplace that's connecting the dots between distributors and consumers? Like, I've seen a little bit about this, and it feels like it's just somebody who understands paid advertising to drive traffic to his website, and then he's connecting the dots. Like, I don't think there's anything original here.
Isn't any company kind of middleware, you know? And yeah, like
I'll take 1.8 billion of middleware money. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think you raise a good question though, Rowan. Like, how much can a micro company really do? Right? But yeah, he has, it's essentially a marketing company, right? That
yeah, he's just driving demand through paid advertising, you know, and capturing.
Yeah. So you're, I mean, in some ways you're right, but that's like a lot of companies, you know, like Coca-Cola no longer does the distribution. They have other companies to do the distribution for it. Like, a lot of their budget goes into marketing. I don't even know if they make the syrup anymore. I'm curious. There's probably some company that makes the syrup. They just have this like secret formula and they market the heck out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
They barely even produce ads anymore. They like one-shot their AI videos. Like,
right,
awful.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Can micro companies though build real infrastructure that does real things? I mean, with automation and like robotic automation, like that could be true. It'll be really interesting to see what a micro company can do.
It's vulnerable space though, because with Claude, just I saw Claude's offering some kind of equivalent to like Whisperflow, and I use VoiceInk. It's like, at what point are you just not going to be gobbled up by these companies, these AI companies that are just absorbing all these kind of entrepreneurial systems that are built on top? They're just going to get folded in, or I guess they're bought up maybe, but they don't even need to be bought up anymore.
That I think is my answer to this question is like, if I'm doing a startup, you want to build a product that gets better as language models get better.
Yes.
It doesn't get replaced. It should be complementary to language models, not competitive to language models, which is a really interesting concept. I think GitHub looks like it's very complementary to language models, for example. It's just like blowing up, like they are struggling to keep the lights on there. There's so much server demand. APIs seem very complementary to language models right now. Infrastructure seems complementary to language models. But there are many products that are just like a curated prompt on top of a language model that seem competitive and get replaced. And so one thing that we need to think about with Flow is like, how do we build the APIs for this stuff that are complementary? We want to build the GitHub, not the, it's hard to even remember these. There was, what's a startup that's like already been replaced? Grammarly is struggling. There was like some startup that like allowed you to
Stack Overflow is dead, right?
Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is a great example. That's probably the first startup that got killed by language models.
All right.
Yeah.
Those guys sold right before. They sold in like
timing is everything.
They were struggling in 2020 though. I don't know that it was like a super successful. They whiffed. There was such an opportunity with Stack Overflow, but they kind of stalled out. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for anyone who watched and people who asked questions. Thanks a lot. We'll be back again in this format on Wednesday, but we're gonna try and do this every day at 2 p.m. So PST.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Take care.
Take care.